Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we've got quite a collection of notes and reflections for May 27th. There's a real mix of wisdom from different thinkers.
That's right. It's like a daily dose of philosophy, really. Covers everything from, personal humility to how our actions actually affect the world around us.
And our mission in this deep dive, as always, is to unpack these different perspectives, find the core insights, and sort of see how they all connect.
Yeah, like assembling a puzzle,
Like,
trying to reveal maybe a framework for living with, I guess, more awareness, more purpose.
We'll definitely explore some foundational ideas. Things like accepting our limitations,
Hmm.
confronting that tricky relationship we sometimes have with truth and maybe self-deception.
Oh, definitely that. And looking at success and failure in maybe a new light. And importantly, understanding how our personal choices ripple outwards.
Okay, so let's dig into this stack of sources and see what key nuggets of knowledge we can extract for you today.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
Well, let's start with a reflection on humility. This is from Ryan Holiday for May 27th, and it doesn't pull any punches.
Oh,
He writes, "You are not immortal. You are not special. You will not be around to relish your legacy. You will not be able to hang on to your grudges or your possessions. So just let go. Be present. Be good because it's a good way to be. And be prepared for what happens to all of us, the best and the worst of us." That's quite a jolt of cold water, isn't it?
wow. Yeah, it is stark. Sounds maybe even a little depressing on the surface, right? But I think the insight there is actually incredibly liberating if you really let it sink in.
Liberating. How so? It sounds pretty final.
Well, if you truly internalize that you're not immortal, that you can't hold on to things forever, whether that's, stuff, possessions, or even emotional baggage like grudges, it actually frees you.
Frees you from what, though? The need to constantly, chase external validation. Worry about a legacy you won't even see.
Exactly. It shifts your focus entirely to the now. The value isn't in having or achieving for some imagined future state. It's in being present right here and choosing to be good simply because, well, that's an inherently valuable way to live. It's a kind of fundamental acceptance of reality.
Okay, I see that. And this idea of accepting reality, accepting limitations, it actually reminds me of something else we have here from Leo Tolstoy's Calendar of Wisdom.
Oh, Tolstoy. What does he say?
He says, "Define success. Set the bar low. Today will not be perfect, and nobody's going to get out of your way." Setting the bar low for success. I mean, that sounds completely backward, doesn't it? We're always told to aim high.
It certainly goes against that conventional reach for the stars no matter what message, yeah. But I don't think Tolstoy is suggesting mediocrity here. It's more about advocating for working within reality.
Working within reality.
Yeah. Yeah. If you accept up front that perfection is probably impossible today, that you will face obstacles, that, other people won't necessarily make things easy for you, which ties right back to Holiday's point about not being special, then you ground yourself.
Ground yourself in what's actually achievable, like right now.
Precisely. It prevents that feeling of paralysis or maybe despair when things inevitably don't go according to some perfect, idealized plan. Those unrealistic expectations, often fueled by a sense of being special or maybe exempt from struggle, they can stop you before you even start.
So setting a realistic bar for the day's effort lets you actually make consistent progress.
Right. Despite the inherent messiness of life, it's another form of humility, really. Accepting things as they are, not just how you wish they were.
Humility and accepting reality. Okay, that feels like the bedrock here.
Hmm.
But this stack of sources also challenges us on how we perceive truth. And maybe more importantly, how we sometimes hide it. Tolstoy comes up again.
Is this
He observes, very often, all of the activity of the human mind is directed not in revealing the truth, but in hiding the truth. The potential of the human mind to act this way is our major source of temptation.
that's fascinating. The paradox, right? Our minds, capable of incredible insight, of seeking truth,
Yeah.
can also be turned inwards to conceal the truth, often from ourselves. And he calls that the major source of temptation. It allows us to justify things we know maybe deep down aren't quite right.
And that connects perfectly to a quote we have from Montesquieu. It adds a sharp point to this.
Okay.
He says, "I love peasants and farmers. They are not scholarly enough nor educated enough to tell sophisticated lies."
Ooh, okay, so that's not really a knock on education itself, is it? It feels more like a warning.
A warning about its misuse.
Exactly. Sophisticated reasoning, complex arguments that can be used to build these elaborate structures of rationalization, to tell sophisticated lies both to ourselves and, to others, masking uncomfortable truths. It suggests intelligence without honesty can actually become a tool for deception.
Which echoes another point from Tolstoy that really linked here. He says, if you see that an action is explained by a very sophisticated reasoning, then you can be sure that this action is bad. The decisions of the conscience are always strict and simple.
That's a powerful claim. It suggests that, true ethical guidance, the voice of conscience, is usually clear, straightforward, simple.
Not convoluted.
Right. When we have to construct these complex, tangled arguments to justify a choice, especially one that feels a bit off, that's a strong indicator. A sign the mind is working overtime to hide the truth, not reveal it. The simpler path is often the more honest one.
Okay, so if our minds are prone to hiding truth, especially using sophisticated reasoning, then how should we even evaluate things like success and failure? There's a different angle here from Hildegard Neff.
Neff, right. What's her take?
She says, success and failure are greatly overrated, but failure gives you a whole lot more to talk about.
Huh. I like that. It challenges the conventional way we categorize outcomes, doesn't it? That binary good-bad.
Yeah, she's saying their external value, success or failure, it's less important than we think.
But failure is rich ground. It provides the raw material for growth, for learning, and I think critically for connection.
Connection. How so?
Well, when you share your failures, your struggles, you build a different kind of rapport with people. There's a vulnerability there. It's different than just listing achievement.
It gives you the stories, right?
Yeah.
The wisdom gained through the hard stuff.
Exactly. And this connects to character in a really profound way. Think about this Iraqi proverb we have. The reader does not steal and the thief does not read.
Okay, that's interesting. What's the interpretation there? It's not literal, I assume?
No, probably not about actual literacy. It suggests that engaging with wisdom, with understanding, with self-reflection, being a reader, in that broader sense, it builds a foundation, a kind of moral compass.
That steers you away from harmful actions, the stealing.
Pretty much. Conversely, avoiding that internal work, that reading, makes those harmful paths easier to take. So true success in this view isn't just about external achievement. It's about the internal development that comes from engaging with truth and wisdom, even the difficult truths learned from failure.
Right, that internal character building.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings us naturally to a crucial thread in these sources, how our choices actually impact other people.
The ripple effect.
Yeah. Ryan Holiday, again, this time from Daily Dad, writes, as people, we owe people to live by the rules I wouldn't reject as unfair, assuming they are decent, reasonable people.
That moves us from just internal reflection to the external application, doesn't it? How we act in the world, and introduces some core, really practical questions.
Like what?
Like asking yourself honestly, would it be okay if everyone did this? Or what would the world actually look like if everyone did what I'm about to do?
Those aren't just abstract philosophical games, though. They feel like actual tools.
They absolutely are. They immediately transform abstract principles into concrete decision-making. They force you, right then and there, to think beyond yourself and consider the wider consequences.
Yeah, we have to zoom out.
You do. And this is fundamental to building any kind of ethical framework, really, both personally and, for society. It's about teaching awareness of our obligations, not just shouting about our rights, understanding the tangible impact of our choices on others.
And that connects directly to another little note we have here. Compassion is your strength.
Yes, because asking those tough questions about impact, the what if everyone did this questions, it requires compassion. It takes strength to genuinely care about how your actions affect others, even strangers you'll never meet.
So it reframes compassion. It's not weakness or being soft.
Not at all. It's the necessary muscle for navigating our interconnected world responsibly, for building sustainable relationships, sustainable communities. It underpins that consideration for others.
Okay, so acting with awareness, considering others, that all takes deliberate effort, right? It's not automatic. It needs a certain discipline to stay focused on what really matters.
It really does. And speaking of discipline, one piece of wisdom we pulled out is from Coach Ralph Mahn.
What did he say?
Just this. Little and often over the long haul.
Simple, but powerful. That gets at consistency, doesn't it?
Totally. Real progress comes from those steady, small efforts, applied day after day, week after week, not just intense, sporadic bursts of activity that burn you out.
So meaningful change is built incrementally.
Exactly. Whether it's learning, changing habits, or building character. And related to that, related to where you put that consistent energy, is another great reminder from David Kusuri.
What's that one?
Putting less on your plate is a great life lesson.
Less on your plate. So it's about focus, not trying to do everything.
It is. I mean, think about it. When we overload ourselves, we scatter our energy. We end up doing nothing particularly well. Simplicity, Choosing what to focus on allows for deeper engagement with what's truly important.
But sometimes our busyness isn't actually discipline or focus at all, is it?
Yeah.
There's this note here that asks, kind of pointedly, are you inventing things to do to avoid the important work?
Oof. Yeah. That's a classic form of self-deception, isn't it? Tying right back to what Tolstoy was saying earlier.
How so?
Well, busyness can be a comfortable escape hatch, a way to feel productive, to look busy, while skillfully avoiding the difficult, focused, maybe uncomfortable work that actually leads to meaningful growth or impact.
So this collection of ideas, it suggests that real progress, gaining wisdom, it isn't about complex, scattered activity. It's more about focused, consistent attention on the essential things.
I think that's a great way to put it. If we look back at all these threads,
Well,
you start with the humility from accepting reality, our limits,
right.
which then helps us confront our own tendency for self-deception so we can honestly seek truth. Then that honesty guides our actions, helps us understand their impact on others, which requires compassion as our strength.
Got it.
And all of that is supported by the discipline of focus and simplicity, directing our energy intentionally towards what truly matters.
It really suggests that profound wisdom isn't necessarily hidden in some super complicated philosophy. It often comes back to clear self-assessment.
Yeah, honest self-assessment.
And using that clarity to make choices based on our impact in the world, moving beyond just, immediate self-interest.
It's fascinating, really, how these different voices from different times, different backgrounds, they all seem to converge on similar conclusions about where true strength and meaning are found.
Not in avoiding reality or hiding truth.
Right, but in facing it squarely, acting with awareness, and cultivating care for others.
And maybe the most practical distillation of all this, something you can actually do daily, comes from John Wooden.
Ah, the great coach. What's the quote?
You can't live a perfect day without doing something for someone who will never be able to repay you.
Wow. That provides a concrete daily practice for this whole framework, doesn't it? It takes that focus on others, on impact, on compassion, and it grounds it in a simple act of service, given freely.
Without expecting anything back.
Exactly. A fulfilling life, maybe these sources suggest, is one that consistently moves beyond the self, acknowledging our interconnectedness through actions given freely.
So when we look at all these pieces together,
Hmm.
from acknowledging our mortality and limits to the challenge of seeing truth clearly, right through to the power of a simple act of service, it really does paint a picture of intentional living.
Grounded in reality and focused on others, yeah.
It does, and it suggests that the deep dive isn't just into these external sources like books or quotes. It's an internal one, too. Understanding our own minds, our tendencies, maybe especially for self-deception, and really feeling our fundamental connection to everyone around us.
The sources remind us again and again that the most profound wisdom often comes back to simple foundational truths: being present, being kind, being aware of our impact.
Yeah. For you listening, maybe just take one idea from this whole collection today. Perhaps the challenge of sophisticated reasoning, is it ever a cover for you?
Or the power of asking, how your action might affect others if everyone did it.
Or even just the simple wisdom of putting less on your plate. Maybe just sit with one of those today.
Or perhaps consider John Wooden's challenge directly. What's one thing you could do for someone today with absolutely no expectation of anything in return?
Just something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
We hope it gives you something valuable to mull over.